Judy, I understand you were part of the AFI's directing workshop for women.
Yes.
Where were you in your life when you first walked in those doors?
I had been an actress for about 12 years, and I had had a moderately successful career, but at some point it was not satisfying to me artistically, because the kind of roles, the work that I was doing was never anything that artistically satisfied me, except some stuff that I did in the theater. And one day, a friend of mine called me up. I was on a women's committee at the Screen Actors Guild, and another woman on the committee called me up and said that her husband was doing a film shoot and needed an assistant, and did I know anybody? Because I had a young son at the time. She thought maybe my son would want to be an assistant. And she said, did I know anybody who would want to be a production assistant? And I said, yes, me. And she said, you? I said, yeah, I want to try getting on the other side of the camera to see what's going on there. So I took that job, and they hired me to be a production assistant for this commercial company. And at that time, I said, this is where I want to be. I don't want to be on the other side of the camera. This is where I feel creative, I feel energetic, I love what I'm doing, I feel like myself. And at that time, the AFI had just started to do the directing workshop for women. And another friend of mine was doing a project there. She had been accepted into the workshop, Lenore DeKoven, and she needed an assistant to help on her film. And I said, oh, yeah, I'd like to do that. So I helped her get her film made. And once I was done with that, I said, oh, this is great. I want to be in this program. And at that time, they were taking mainly people who were already successful in the industry, women who had writing careers or who had directed on Broadway or who were stars. They had a lot of well-known actresses, Anne Bancroft and Joanne Woodward and people like that were in the program. But I applied to the program. And I didn't get in, but what I got was on the wait list in case somebody dropped out. There were like 3 of us on the wait list. And about 3 months into the program, somebody dropped out. A writer dropped out of the program. And they called me and said, Judy, you want to be in the program, you're in. And I said, this is it. Here I am. And so that's how I got into the program.
What were some of the basic things they taught you? I've heard that AFI has a very distinct style. I could be wrong. I was just a couple things I'd read, but what were some of the things that they taught you and that were different maybe from other places that you've heard?
At that point, there was very little instruction. What you did was spend a day with a technician who taught you how to plug in all your equipment, who taught you how to run an editing system. And at that time, we were editing in 1-inch, large editing. And I had done a radio show before, and so I had edited tape before. I had edited the little 1/4-inch audio tape, and I was pretty skilled at it. So when we got to editing the 1-inch tape, that was great. I loved that. And I'll never forget, he gave us instruction, and he said, just think of electronics as electronic plumbing. You plug a thing in here, the current goes in there. You plug it in there, the current goes there. It's just like water running through pipes. And for some reason, that weird description served me great. It really made me understand that it was nothing mysterious, that it was very simple, and I just seemed to have an affinity for it. And that was basically all the instruction we got. Then after that, they gave you the equipment, they gave you a small amount of money, and they gave you access to everything at AFI, and you went out and made your film. And it was, they threw you out of the nest and you flew. Or you didn't. But fortunately, I flew.
Did they have any type of guide come with you? No? You learn how to use it, and there you go.
You got yourself a producer who you worked with, and you struggled. You made mistakes, and you did it right, and you did it wrong, and you were free to do whatever you wanted. It may be different now. I think now there's a lot more guidance goes on. I know there's a whole intense month that the women put in with classes and trainings. My associate producer, Erin Lee, is now in the program. And I know she's just come through a really intensive month of training. But the difference in the program now is they don't give you any money. They make you go out and raise your money, I think on Kickstarter. So, you know, the world has changed for the better and for the worse.
What time period were you looking at from the moment that you started, once the waitlist, you know?
What time period?
Yeah,
in the
program.
In the program, it's a year.
Oh, it's a year.
It's
okay.
a year program because they bring in a whole new group every year. So you have a year in the program to do whatever you're going to do.
Right. And is this a short film?
Short film,
Okay.
yes, right.
And they let you choose any genre?
Yeah, yeah. I think we did submit scripts and got a go ahead or a yay or a nay, depending on whether they thought we were thinking too out of the box or, you know, crazy stuff that couldn't possibly be done. But mine got approved and I shot a short film.
And then do they have a screening?
Yes,
where
they have
show-
screening. They have a screening every year of all the films of all the women that are in the program, and it's wonderful to see how many women are getting a shot. Because one of the things about being a filmmaker is you have to practice. You have to practice your skills, and it's not, you know, like picking up a guitar and you sit in a room by yourself. You need a whole crew. You need equipment. You need money. You need. And sometimes I would say to myself, am I crazy? What am I doing here? But if you're driven, you can't help it. You're crazy anyway.
Do you remember some of the first days that when you were sort of, quote, out of the nest with the camera? Some of the things that happened, just being out there, I'm not quite sure how many people were on your crew, but just some of the things that happened?
I do remember shooting one day that was like, I think a 19-hour day where I just practically killed my crew. And for some reason, I was so wired, I didn't even know how long it was taking or what time it was or anything. I just knew I had a limited amount of time and a limited amount of days. And you're really guerrilla shooting the whole time. And at the end of it, I thought, wow, that's not something I really want to be doing to a crew. Now, this happens on feature films all the time, but it's not good. And you know, in Europe, they're very civilized. They break like at 6 o'clock and they come back the next morning and they have tea and, you know, but here it's like, work. I wasn't crazy about doing that.